And so after looking at the introduction, now we've understood what React is at a high level. Uh, let's also look at how React has developed from the time it was developed until today. There are several versions of React. So we had the initial version of React, which was 0.30. That was in 2013 when React was first invented. And then it has evolved through the years until the latest version we have now is the version React version 19.00 as of 2024. Okay, and we said for you to learn React or to start using React, you don't need anything. The only prerequisite topics you need is that you must have understood HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which of course we know. Okay, and then also for you to be able to start developing with React, you must have installed and set up your computer with Node.js, which I believe we have. So if you don't have Node.js on your computer, make sure you go to the official website for Node.js and download it, and then make sure that you install. So when you install Node.js, it comes with a tool called Node Package Manager. So this is what will help to manage your project, as we are going to see later. Node Package Manager. Alright, so that's all you need to know on the history and versions for React. Alright, and so let's try to understand how does React work. Alright, how does React work? So we know, and we all know, that if you build an application like this, a minute, let me just pause. Iram, okay. Uh, all right, so let's proceed. I think something came up, was interrupted. So let's understand how React works. And we all know that if you build a multi-page application like the one we have here, then we have explained that what happens when you try to display this page on the browser. So for example, if you now uh, display this using a live server and it opens up, before the browser can actually display it, the browser has first of all to create the document object model, the DOM, for this page. So that now the browser can be able to know how many elements or how many tags do I have here, how do these tags relate to each other, which tag appears within which. So it creates all that document object model. Then after that, it now displays, okay, it now displays the page as what you are seeing now here. Okay, if we go back to our code and maybe we change any content, let's say we change these in the body, we add maybe a new button, or we change the content of this button to something like this. Again, when we save, the browser will again restart and it will start recreating. Okay, it will recreate a new DOM again for every element again, and then again it will render the what, it will display the page now. Okay, this is true for multi-page applications. For the React, when you are using React to build your front end, React works by creating something called the virtual DOM. Virtual DOM, it means that this DOM is not within the browser, but rather within the memory of your computer. You can understand? Within the memory of what? Of your computer. In the memory. Then it will create that DOM and then display display that page in the user interface. Okay. And because the ROM or the RAM is very fast, you find that when you make any changes here within your code, React will not update each of these, or it will not recreate all these elements. It will just recreate a specific element which has changed. For example, it will just recreate this button with a new content. And therefore, because it only updates that specific tag or element that has changed, therefore it takes less time to display the page, and therefore it becomes faster. Your application becomes faster. So instead of recreating all the DOM objects, it just recreates the DOM object that has been affected, and therefore it becomes faster. So that's what we're saying now in our notes. In the traditional browser DOM, the browser updates the entire UI when something changes, and therefore this slows down the app. With the React, there's a virtual DOM that is created. So React only updates the parts of the UI, or the parts of the elements that have changed, instead of the entire user interface. Hence, it makes your application faster. So you could say, if someone is using React and someone is using plain HTML and what CSS and JavaScript, then the person using React, that application will be faster than the application that has been built using HTML or pure HTML using multi-page. And therefore that is one of the reasons why you would want to use a framework like React as opposed to using something like plain HTML. Okay, we try to look at some of the real world applications that we are using today that are built using React. Okay, so our Facebook app is built using React. Instagram, Netflix, Airbnb, Shopify, all these applications that we are using today, I know all of us are using some of these applications. Alright, so all these applications are built using React. Okay, so that's it all about how the React works in terms of displaying the object.